Taba Jayum Bayang Tabara Taba Sanji Riba Dang Jabda Demba Niden Jemba Jivendra Kalu Jirva Lana Meba Je Tumba Sanji Jumden De Parjava Joja Taba Sanda Lun Jodo Jabdan Je Yen Java Jayum Jivar Java Niden Jemba Jivendra Kalu Jirva Adam Namji Tumba Sanji Jumden De Parjava Joja Sanda Lun Jodo Jabdan Je Yen Java Jayum Bayang Tabara Taba Sanji Riba Dang Jivar Java Niden Jemba Jivendra Kalu Jirva Adam Namji Tumba Sanji Jumden De Parjava Ana Sanda Lun Jodo Jabdan Je Chodam De Sachen De La Kumbha Damburani Ana Nyuden Dana Teten Giva Jola Nakuma Joda Zidamba Ichi Janto Sipchi Lambunda Trava Nyude Samnat Kumbun Changni Jela Jan Dalon Tsenshab Demba Tremet Sardan Trava Jola Jan Dalo Dedek Samanje Nyame Jenjen Jola Kumbu Tuje Chetemba Damje Jembe Domba Wo Sona Yonde Tijen Jola Jan Zalo Tabendo Chat Yeng Zandi Durja Juda Dondan Shijir Jula Jan Zalo Tuni Druva Lamya Tuni Lava Tola Rab Shengu Tamba Yonde De Gundan Layon Jan Namjaye Giva Bazant Ranga Samne Yonsan Dana Sanjit Karma Rabra Marmedon Jama Savarach Manamalo Dantava Deje Junamade Darat Sonam Daya Tamje Zibai Kumbon Tumle Chunjit Kadana Danjava Seven Zodin Dua Durajo Adivara Sangati Buddhi Adingati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi So Adiyatangati Varasangati Buddhi So Adivarangati Varasangati Buddhi Adangati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi Adangati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi Adangati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi Yadangati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi Yadangati Varangati Varasangati Buddhi.
Across picture the gathering of meanings of the three chakras to abide and flow the yoga using space. By the powers of prayer, elimination, look after and
In order to achieve the state of most incomparable, the complete Buddhahood, which is free of all the elimination of all the flaws, consummation of all the great qualities. To achieve that for the sake of mother sentient beings, that mother sentient beings whose number is equal to the magnitude of space itself. For that purpose, attending to the discourse on the Holy Mahayana Dharma, and with proper adjustment of your motivation and modification of the manners accordance with the instructions of the former or the tradition of the great lamas, please attend.
Orida dinida zembrejavada dambe chuna juda sanji jumden di mararanga sona Baba yung kurjanga chiva siji ndo dana tongwa chiva chiva mebi sar mishi wenan ruwan chamjirwa Tita Tijingavi, Tabsur Don Riba Jatakin and Zaparanzis in Amara. Sanjawa, Tinajan, or Juda Rutikusam Jan Ganga, Lidan Yamango on Gorame para, Rutika Nisan Chamna, that Dingermamuji Nandi Yuvati, or Juda Tisriago Chita, Tombani Jichusirti, that's Hanjiga Songo Yobachi.
So, topic of the teaching, as Buddha himself pronounced in the sutra called Papu Yu Hu Chong, requested by Papu Yu Hu Chong, where it says that the facts about the emptiness, peace, and birthlessness, lack of knowledge regarding that, as he states, that then sentient beings wander about in cyclic existence. So now, as you know, that in the realms of six realms, all sentient beings within, they due to the influences of karma and delusions, they involuntarily, and they wander and then endure all forms of sufferings and so forth. This is it due to the lack of understanding of the facts about emptiness. So thus.
Ojuda Dinayan Bayandu Juda, Tambani Jenny Sir, Sejude, Ojuda, Sanjigo Ronayon, Sanjigo Son Ronayon, Tava Kartoji, Shogja, Senada, Ojuda, Tela Shogjaji, Metawivari, Yo de Karisena, the Chitamchi, Matawa de Tombo, Soji Tamji, Dingarasi de Niva, Chutamji, Tongji, Domebasi de Samba, Yangan Divana Shiva, Sejidi, Daishu de Bayandu. Tela Juda number Sanjiva, Shagja Damasana, Shangsen, Tisindra Woody, or the Shagjas in a metals of your Indian.
Tombe Netsu. The facts about emptiness, the mode of emptiness, as the Buddha himself taught, that's about 4 great seals. As you know, there are Tawakata Chaiteshi, or the 4 great seals. What are those 4? The first is that all composite phenomena are transitory. Second, that all contaminated things are subject to suffer. And third is that all phenomena, or all Dharma, are empty and selfless. And fourth is that Nirvana is the peace. And so these four are known as the Chakya, or the great seals. They call them the Mudra, or the 4 great seals.
Ojuda Dinayan Bayandu, Ojuda, Dari Ju Kabza Bashuadi, Sansa Kirti and Mahamudra, see Shogja Chimbosiji and Guyari. Or that and that Tony Shua Naja, Tava Kartoji Shogja, you would really lie on Mara Shogjachi, Meta Yuari. You are ready, no need that, you saw the Domeba Tombanya CGD, or you die Shogja Chimbosi, that you would tell a Chioni Shogja Chimbu Meta Yuari, so the Samjin Dingarignon, Dingarignon, Kuru Savati, Dogdan Zamba, Dongza Marua and do tea capti, Domeba, Tengu and do Shogajin on his Odi Domebadi, that Shogajin on goes so like Dio Dini.
So, the topic for tonight, or our seminar or teaching, is that in this context is the Mahamudra, as we say in Sanskrit, or Chakya Chimbo, or the Mahamudra, as we stated before, that are those Tawakata Chakyashi, those 4 great seals. They are also known as 4 Chakyashi, or the 4 great seals, the Mahamudras. But primarily, that when we speak of the Mahamudra or the Chakya, we're talking about the selflessness, the emptiness. So that's what we refer to as Chakya Chimpo or the Mahamudra. So primarily that is the great seal, because the fact that the reason the sentient beings wander about in cyclic existence is due to the ignorance grasping of the self. And one which opposes, one which counters, one which opposes that ignorance grasping of self is the realization of the their selflessness. So because of that. So whether we call it Chakye Chenpo or Chakchen. So when we say Chakchen is a contraction, that phrase Chakye Chenpo is contracted, so we call it Chakchen. So when we say that Chakchen, it has two things: you object or the Yujin the subject. So what is object? That's the emptiness, and Yujin or the subject is that one which apprehends. The one which takes that emptiness as object. So thus that when we speak of that, it has both subjective and objective aspect to that. So this objective emptiness and Yujin, the objective that the subjective emptiness. So based on that, they based on Sutra and Tantra as we have two. So thus it comes in the two. So, and also in the Mahayana, that Mahayana Pitaka, that as you know that we have Sutra as well as so subjective mind accordance with Sutra and subjective Mahamudra accordance with the Tantra. So we will have the two.
Ojuda tinda yimba yendu juda yer shakja jembo tongba nyola jendo da ngo niga ni songya di mandra banda medingi yer jen shakja jembo seje ti chani songya duna yer jen ngun zondong tela ji yer jen go da samsena shiwa sena ti ji thara ga ni se ji doni songya go yer jen go tongba nyo to yer jen go shiwa di o ji shiwa rakpan ro ji endingi da ngoni songya go yer jen de ji shiwa tamu nani an tamu ji ending each bar ji yoding.
So when we speak about that subjective, the objective emptiness, it has no differentiation or there's no dissimilarities, whether it is accordance with Tantra or whether it's accordance with the Sutra. Whereas when it comes to Yujin or the subjective and how we identify the subjective Mahamudra, then that subjective, as you know, when we say subjective, there's a mind, shape, same, or shape, or the awareness, that one which apprehends it, right? So that mind is now the base, that categorizing as subtle and gross. So when we speak about this Mahamudra accordance with the Sutra, that Yujin or subjective mind is a Sheba Rakpa, or a gross awareness, or the gross mind. Whereas when we speak about the subjective mind accordance with Tantra, then there's a Sheba Tamo, or the subtle awareness, or the subtle mind. And not only that, that is subtle among the subtles. So it's even subtler among the subtle. That kind of subjective mind.
Ojuda tinda ji ngoni songya di yerjin go shakja jembo di tamu ji yo yendu da de la ji ngozu Pokonjen la mara tarding you number son you de la da Manjir Nyemi Liga, you men of Tayam Davari you ding, Manjir Nyemi Lila, Dokchen in Ujingu, so Jimbo Nokoson at the Latin Tindra Metal dingy. Kajuka on the China, da Mahamudra so Jimbo, Yonso Tapana, what you in dingy. That they need you, but then Sachavi Lila, Sartan the Michi Shivas and a Chison Guari. What dang a Zumara, Gilu, Moni, Jordan Jin Doshani Sonati, when me Tabasi, Song Guari, ding on his own yadi, no young Lami, Gidi Jin on the Lamini Sonyati, did on his maybe she see what that meant of Tom about reading.
So how based on where we identify this Eugene or the subjective and this subtle mind and the traditions which are spread in Tibet and in a land of snow that are based on Tantra, then the variations in name have exist. The variation in name, like for instance, according with the Nyingma tradition, then they know it as a Dzogchen, whereas according with the Kagyu, then as Chagye Chenpo or the Mahamudra, and then the most magnificent Sagya tradition, then Sedong Zime, Sedong, the clear and void, the free of grasping, and such awareness. And then according with the Gelug tradition, that if we follow the Sutra tradition, then Umetawa, the discursive view of the Madhyamika we call, whereas if you follow the Mahamudra Yoga Tantra, amongst all the Tantra, according to the defined accordance with Mahamudra Yoga Tantra, then we call it Dedong Nisame Vishi, or wisdom of non-duality of the bliss and void.
Oji da tinda yinba yandu ju da ju tawa ngun zandang dang da zola ju sarja ka ju oda ju nyama gilgi da zo ju tawa yirjenga tawa ngun zandang dang yir tawa ngun zandang da zo mandraba mena yang oji da ju karse go zi chardang yang chakala ju ki da zo ju ki nyemba dang ki sarva da zo lomba kaba yana yang gu yuwa tinda go top ko ju men da dang de mandraba tinda mara riri ju jongwa yin dingi.
So that's that the way we identify the right view, the way we establish the right view and so forth, there's no variation, whether it's Sagya traditions or the Kagyu tradition or the Nyingma traditions. And also subjective mind, which subjective mind, now in the way they popularly known amongst the populace, and based on the archaic nature of certain terminologies and so forth. And as you know that in the vernacular language too, that we have some language which comes from the ancient and some are fairly new. So based on these, then the variations in the terminologies have come to us.
Oji da tinda ji da tani da ju karse go da dari shuya go mara tsawa di ngozu gili go ngoni da penchen lobzang chujen go song go odi shakjen tsawa gyarwe chong lama sena ju tsawa tinda na shakchang samji jirnga ju yudde yuwari oda tin zhiwa deyang ju penchen lobzang chujen kongru ko rongzhi tsawa yang kongru ko song tin zhiwa yang rong go zhiwa chu song shaka yendu zhiwa sena da dan zhiwa tin tsana jindana yang sar domi si song yang go yuwari shakchang go ondi shina yang ju barjir na karse go shakchang samche sodan yarmar tinda ji yu dingi oji da dari shuwa di da di tangni shu da shigo yoga chuji.
So here, that the course we're going to present is that Mahamudra, according to the Gelug tradition, that with the authorship of the great Benjamin Losang Chuyi Genze, and his root text, which comes as Jewe Shunglam, that Gene Kagyu Rinpoche Chachen Tsawa Gewe Shunglam, which is precious Gane Kagyu Buddha Pathway Mahamudra root text. And also the commentary is by Banjo Losang Chui Genze himself, so order commentary by the same author, and has pages about 37 pages, and by the title of Yangse Dweme. Yangse Dweme as a magnificently clear lamp. So that this is the text we're going to follow.
Jida Dina Jida, that Dini Jida, Jerem go on the Jina Yang Jida, as in the Benjamin Jingo Marashautan Sava, Jerry Jonam go Jugo Nayang, Shautan go Jendivus, Lama Jibber, Sunday, Marambajan, the Yuari, Namjan Jida, Mujimara, Shautan Sava, the Zomara, Kachun on Duna, Jendivus on Sango Yuari data, Jendivus no Tejina, as Tiso de Garajin Gundro, the Tatari de Maguaji, Tanambazi Shaki. Chandon is Songo Kavla or Juda Dana Songo Songo Atino Jetin to Achigio or Juda in the Chig.
Also that in the root text, when towards the end of the root text, there's a Gudip Sudip. That's the prayer to the lineage gurus. And His Holiness Dalai Lama, when he gives teachings, it is a tradition that we also read that prior or before we proceed with the teachings. But because of the time constraints, that if you do that, it's going to take a fair amount of time. So I was told that in the morning sessions, in your morning meditation sessions, that you are doing that or you will be doing that. So I would like to encourage you, as you stated, to read that in the mornings.
Oh, you that in a Judan, that Dini that you don't got to go that really should not the song going to do. That Jabati was the Gideon or with Jabati, so Maradandi non you are din on it, Tombo, Jabadurjin Chari, Teni that Jizen Jambi on that Jizen Jambi only. Or you that Tana Jindivina Jingo, Teni Jirambuji Jisangawa Lodge. Or the Jisangava ni Conricum will talk the Jabrajam so see Jeteraja. Or you that any Marambajan the Jenna, Dandin on a Ripazo Chuji Jansen Sij, Tin Tosini, or you that Carizago, that in the.
So if you go over each and every one of the lineage gurus, that, as you know, again, that would take a lot of time. So that if we narrate the Yupa or the lineage, of course it starts with the Gyawatoji Chang, the Vajradhara, and then Vajradhara to the Manjushri, and from Manjushri to the Lama Tsongkhapa, that most magnificent Lama Tsongkhapa, and Lama Tsongkhapa to the Topten Jampe Gyatso, and then that they chronicled onto the apostles Chuyi Gyatso and so forth.
Juda, Neri Bazuji and the Juda, Jirambuji Maraloma, Kidurambuji Mara, John Kumchi, Barchi Chwanda in Gusari, Tintoni, Dharma Banzer, Sita, Sanskritika Katoniana, Dharma Banzer, there's a book in the Jerona, to change Chuji Dorji, Siji, or Juda, Teso, Denida, Java and Savasala Jen. That Rambaji and the Shumagu Agitini, Marambaji and the Genu, or you that Tanya Satani, you Garazago, Jabji Lerambuche down, or you that any Jabji Rambuchi, or that any Jango Javarambuchi Amarja, or that in the Deni Javarambuchi Maracachino, Teni Dang, you was Yamba and Duty Regimar, Rambajan the Chuni, the Jetty, but Chitankanda, Siva, in the some just holding I magic that Jabba when it's on that in the Yangu.
So from Pasuchugi Gense. The Pasuchugi Gense is one of the direct disciples of the Lama Tsongkhapa, and also he is I think he was the younger brother of Kedu Rinpoche, or the younger brothers. And from the Pazuchu Genze, it was passed on to the Sanskrit name is Dhamma Vajra, and translation into Tibetan is Chudoje. So Dhamma Vajra or Tujen Chudoje, and from Tujen Chudoje or the Dhamma Vajra, Yao Vensawa. And then gradually in a chronicle, in an unbroken lineage. So His Honesty Ling Dorje Chang, the senior tutor, and also then His Honesty Chichang Dorje Chang, the junior tutor, and then to His Honesty Dalai Lama. And since we have heard these teachings from His Holiness, so this is their lineage. That if you count, I think it comes to about 35, that it was passed on the prior 35 lineages.
Dharma Bandrasana to change Chudur Jisi, Wajudangazu, Kajiko, and the Jina Jisamala Ramboji, Sechu Lichila, Wajuda, Mojilam Gomna, Sanji Combato Dingi and Dingi, Kiligo on it to change Chudur Jam, Dharma Bandr, they on you, Sechu Lichila, and Chakung Dosi, and that, Turjinanga Combato Dingi, good die on Trotsemiji and Ding.
So the Dharma Vajra, or the Tibetan Tujin Chu Doje. So this, the great, the Siddha, the Dhamma Vajra, I think they'll be equivalent to the Milarepa of the Kagyu tradition. As you know, the Milarepa is someone who has accomplished the state of Buddhahood within that short lifespan, within the same body. Likewise, that Dhamma Vajra is in Giluk, someone who has achieved the Chogyumudu, or the supreme attainment, or the state of Vajradhara within his lifetime.
Gaji Ganguni and Malaram Bojing, as you get a Gangunan to change Chudurjila Sabi, so Lam Gomyadi, that and the Shua and Ajango, Shakja Chambo, that and Dogo, the Tombanita in Batitani, Moji, Molamiko, the Chivo, or you die, that you are your chan. Shua and Tramun on it, Tombani, the Chiba, your chan, the Konanyam Yisa, no Gonita, Sichilichila, Sanjavaji, and do what you dash of the Chambo Sejitela, to that in Dragon Dongo Sonder go, Goni, to Tombanya, Yamnesia, Yamnesia, what you die, Shochengo, John Sejit in Drago, John, you, Karasugo, Sabatu, and Ding.
So since this is the case, as I just stated, that in Kagyu tradition, the like of Milarepa, and in our Gilo tradition, these great masters. So the primary, the key, the path that which they sought, which they sought or which they followed, is the path of the Mahamudra or the Chache. And this one, so as the view established in the sutras, and then tantric-wise, the mind which apprehends that view, that according to Mahamudra Yoga Tantra, the yujin or the subjective mind, more subtlest of the subtle awareness of the mind, which takes up the realization or the apprehension of the objective emptiness. So this is the Mahamudra, and this is, so when you speak of this, this is the practice of Mahamudra. So when you speak from that perspective, it is indeed a very profound.
How did that dinner in by and did you that, and that you Jerome going on a dinner, younger you are your sons. You to change you to you had the or you that was that beer down Bogo, Conrichumula, Matamamba, Songo, Karasago Jomo Gondra Siji Yoku Sari, or you that dinner Marjudingi, or you that you lead about the Zuma Dandayam Marju Karasago Judio Ding, lead about the Zunjaria you ding, Limatawa the Zunjar Tokyo Mariwa, or that con Tarjan to change you to Jigo, Jerab and Savachembo. Or that you Pencheramuji Chiji and Guari, Jerab and Savachembo Mara, or you Musa, you Chakanga Tambata no, or that they need to Jerab and Savachembion, Tinamgino, they need to Jerab and Savachembion, sit you lead to La Mara, Sanja Comontan, they aren't in the Chinding.
So this is how the practice is that are passed on in these chronicles of the lamas. And as you know, Tujin Chudoche, the Dharma Vajra, he said that he resides in the place called Chomokari. I don't think that's one which you see in Nepal or the Tibetan-Nepal border, but it is that name on Chomokari, that's name, and it is said that those who have the pure karmic visions, they can even now, to the present time, they can see and gain the vision of this great Siddha. Of course, that if your karma is not purified, that you are unable to see. And from this master, then it was passed on to Gyao Vansava. And Gyao Vansava, as you know, that was Panchen Lama. And the entire teachings of the Chacheng Mahamudra was passed on to Gyao Vansava, and he adopted that as his core practice and achieved the state of the Buddhahood within that lifespan and within the same body, which means that within lifespan and within the same body he achieved that.
Ojida, the Rayan Juda, you then Jambi on his own, Jeti, Jisanga Marambajan, the Teni, Ojida, Jerab and Savadon, the Sola Marriage, Jen, Yonsi, Varti, Benchino, Jansena, took over the Niente Japamato, you Karasago, Yugi told that team, Machos and Amara, Kanon Yosari, Chedijava Dercha, Karasago, Chedijava Derchi, Cook, Kavadan, you that in Rago, you Nyamle Chimataba, Tindasona Maragua in Sarvati, Ronida, Benjano, Chujango, Nakatune Zona, Tati, Utava Chuma, the Genti Marasavani, Mepper Chandu Juris, and or that the need to Yadam Chuzana, Jua Kongala Mara Gonkunda was Shuna, that the need that Chakin Jerry messages and Ditola, Yukiko, or that is what the Kapsava and do any Tirandri not US on what you ending.
They from the Manjushri onto Chetonga Pachimbo, and then passed on to Gyao Vansava. And then it passed on to, gradually it passed on to Benjen Losan Chui Genze. Up to the Benjen Losan Chui Genze, it was never in a written form, but it was transmitted ear to ear. It is said that it's ear to ear and never transcribed or in a written instructions are not never. But then seeing that the disciples who could practice it, and that the continuity of these teachings, or stream of this continuity of this teaching, could be at risk of discontinuation and so forth. And then intended for the future disciples. And then Benjamin Lord Chui Gensen wrote that by the title of the Gene Kagyu Rinpoche Chazhen Zawa Yewe Shunglam, by this title, and after obtaining the permission from the meditation deities, the Dharmapalas, and so forth, then he wrote that as in a form of manual instructions.
Horida, Dinaji and Bayan do that, you Dinaga 13, Chogyan Zava Jerry Jonam go Juguna, Jindip Serduzona, Juda Lama Jabatazun, Sanyo Sarbuji, Komatazatazo, and change up in the song you are, or that Juguna, Tandavarti Utala, Chikomachawadi, or Juda, Lama Komasu Marathon in the International Circle you are, or that in the Chichuan.
So these, that the names of all the previous gurus and so forth, and if you look at the truth conclusion of this root text, you will see all the names, and those names which are kind of a little bit difficult to understand, which means that they're amplified with using the italic words and so forth, and also they're amplified with this little insertion, little additions or clarifications. So if you read those, that it'll be easily accessible.
Oji da tinda yimba yendu da ju jindibri rini mara da titsura ngon rogo ndi shen maguwa tinda da zuku jina marin chen rogo yuwari o da tinda chigdang da teni da jigandi tambo mara rangzhi ka tawni mara shigu dina la tsaba koyango yuwari o da di shigu yan di yimba yendu da rangzhi kan yigi lekun tsena giden kaji Rinpoche kasur shakja chenpu tsaba jiwar chepa yang sa dromi shi shaba shingso si da din tsen chigdang wajig da dini da di rangzhi di nana jig da shakjen tsaba jarwe jangla na yang jig tambo namo maa matraya se na nga jig sansa kriti ka tangni chuju ji yuwari dana rangzhi na yang di yuwari Namo Mahamudra si Namo Sijiti Shangsarva, Maha Sijiti Chenpo, Matra Sijiti Shakja, Matra Ya Sijiti La Yendu, Shakja Chenpo La Shangsarlo, Senada, Sangshak Yuding.
So Judip, that's the prayers to the lineage gurus. And if you go through them, each and every one, then again, there will be time issues. So now let's start with the author commentary. That if you look at the author commentary, and you will see the root text is inserted right in the middle of right in through this process. So that the author commentary by the title of Jene Kagyu Rinpoche Kasu Chagye Chenpo Zawa Geber Sheba Yangse Dreme Shechao Yangse Dreme Yangse as the extremely bright Dreme as a lamp. So this is text, and then you will see that within this text, the root text is inserted through the main body of this commentary. And then also, just like in the root text, in the author commentary, you will see a usage of the Sanskrit phrase, Namo Mahamudra. So this is Sanskrit. The Namo is the I prostrate or I pay homage, Maha as great, and Mudra as the mudra, and Ye, that means to Mahamudra, the Ye that I pay homage, or the
Oji da tinda chigdang, da teni chigdang har yang chi yang tsomba la ngondong rawo di chigda chuju chigdang teni tsomba tamja chig nyi wa yendu danda na ramjam sangji kanji chi na ngamun zamba karji namro karjan samden jizan lama ishab chi we mur kiwi shakshi di se na chulo ka chigbo di oji da chang tsarwa imdingi da ti akka tusum jarwa kanji tukji chando na jidi jamsi nyambu tan trebi angbo kanji shaba shir shakchen yang sar dromi shebar sha se na da tsombar tamja imdingi.
So to begin with here, as you know, that the church to paying the homage, and Tsompa Tamja, or his pledge to write or compose this text. The first one verse is the church or the salutation or the paying the homage, and second verse is now Tsompa Tamja, or the pledge to compose the text.
Hojida dina imba yendu dan din chojo kanana sanji kanji shina sanga dina hojida jirwa masaba ni jana kirib sanji ishi se je te la je dan kirib sanji ishi ni penchen lo zan chujin ko shu ni tenin di hojiga saba di san randir dan chiwa sanga yendu penchen lo zan chujin kongru ko shakchen saba shu sa din kirib sanji ishi kon tsan di tondi wa yendu te lan chojo na shayo di.
So in the case of the homage, or making salutation, the Kedu Sanje Yishi, this accomplished Sanje Yishi, that's the master from whom the Benjamin Lawson Chui Genzen has obtained or received this transmission. So his name is explicitly mentioned on the very first line. And then based on his instructions, then the author says that I will compose this text.
Ojida, Dina Jigida, Denida, Sabji, Tramanguarida, and Durum Kiwadon Triple, Jivotamba, Namji Kazu, Shoja Jembu Damba, and Chebercheba de la Sumsita, Sombala and Jibishava, Samba Damba, Zamba Damba, Mushiba Diniva, or that somebody Janguadi, some Juda, Denida, some Shizano, that Dambo, Juda, Sombala and Jibishava, Ojuda, Donya Damba Choba don Tambara, Temba Soji, Cheras, Guadishi, Yer Cheberjana, Chansarvadan, Somba Terchamber, Shavi, Cherstomber Tamja, Chertomba, La, Sidatinango, Tajitani Shua, no, Sanskritika Toganango, Shokin Jervis on Jonam Nayon, the Uai and Dundana, Namoma, Mataya, Sidet, Tajing on my shoes of Uari. The Sanskritika Shoja Jambo, La Chansarvadan, that the only Jewish Jervis on Lamna. Kanjab Kanjiran, Soja, Yermi Joder, Semji, Durji, Jamberton, the Chabdog, Dami Lami Chabla, Kivin, the Senator, or the Sojan Jean Lamaron and Chuju Sanyati, or Judat in Rayamba Yandu, or Judat, Chabdog, Dami Lami Chabla, Kivin, the Sijudan, Kusanji, Hila, and Chuberjuba ending.
So here, in order to compose the text of the Mahamudra, accordance with these highly erudite and accomplished beings, and our author says that he has three areas. The first is to enter the composition, and then the actual composition, and the conclusion, the writing, the concluding, or the prologues of that. And the first, in order to emulate the deeds of the great beings that are first, that are making the prostrations, to emulate the deeds of great beings. So thus that here, as you know, that root text which begins, the Mahamudra, the all-encompassing nature of all, indivisible, indefinable, dominant mind sphere, revealing direct, accomplished the Lord of all families. At the feet of incomparable Guru I bow. Again, at the feet of incomparable Guru, that refers to the Kedu Sangye Yishi. And then
Ojuda dina imba yandu jidan chojuka yuki rana yang jarvi rana rana dandan danin drivani transavadi yuga chikmata mya yandu kanchab kanchi rana chakja ji songa yandu yer chakja jembo tomba nyade chutamchi la mar chabdi yuwa yandu kanchab se ojuda dina guchani mara yer tomba nyade ngusa mara yer tomba nyade chechuna ngusi joja yoding.
So when he said that all-encompassing or all-pervasive, and it refers to the root text, the all-encompassing or all-pervasive, that refers to the objective emptiness. That's now identifying the objective emptiness. That emptiness is something that which is all-pervasive. That means that we will find on everything.
Ojidat Dindra Judan, Nudat, any Yermi Joder, Samji Durji, Yans in the Tsukon Yuatana, or the years of the Jembo Tombanya, the year the shape of your Jendi, Shua, Samgaranji, and some day out that you Tony Shua Naja, those only some Adi, some Rapa, Shua Rapa, Dindra Tombanya Tobati, and the Mog, Lamika Kamni Sonyati. Sama Shiva Tramunani, Shantan travel, some Tramu Sijiti, or Yer Tombanya Toyati, and Bayandu, Yer Tombanya, Kanjokanji Danya, Tedan, Yerjan Shantan travel, some Tramuni, or Juda, some Jidurji, and Yerdan Yerjan in Drava Mebaji ending.
And then the indivisible, the indefinable diamond mind sphere or state. So now here that in the sutra, that mind which understands emptiness, that's the gross awareness or the gross mind, whereas that the mind which understands the comprehend the emptiness, according to the Mahamudra Yoga Tantra, is the mind which is extremely subtle, the subtlest among the subtle. So these two, the subjective subtle mind and objective emptiness, these are the indivisible, the Samgyudoje, the diamond mind state.
Ojida Dinda Yamba Yandu, Ju Garsego, Juda Samji Tango, Tonya de Yamba Yandu, Ju Jordan, Ju Daji Juanajari, Tombanya Chudamchila, Chabdi, you are ready, so Rana so Samdi Tango, Tonya Tit, Rana so Samda, something Muzan, some Taro Mambo, you are reading Muzan. Di Tombanya Toya Lamar Jarjava Yandu, Ranjako Semgatango Tanya Goyadi, Rana Sosula, Rango Samdi Rana Sosula, Communion Yua Yandu, Di Ningomadavachi Ding.
So here, Sangutoni, the emptiness of one's own mind, that not all emptiness of one's own mind. So after identifying the mind and then trying to understand the emptiness of that, one's own mind. Since the one's mind is something which is very familiar, something which we are used to or something we are accustomed to, so that's that then understand the emptiness of the mind itself, one's own mind itself. So it has a very special significance.
Ojida Dina Yambayandu, Jadon, the numbers on you, Jean de Sodan, Teni, Umi Jean de Zona, Dorme Sidi, Tonya Sidi, De, Kanzaka Dorme Sidi, Chuji Dorme Sidi, Ni, Varidi, Tinigi Nani, Tambu Tambu, Kanzaka Dorme Sidi, Ti Tani Maratombani Telam Baviati, Karchambo, and says on Goyari, Ti and do, Pardon the water for your manjibana. Nyamo Chona Malu, Junsavala, Tali Chon, Louis Tanjir, Don and D, the Toshi, Namjur Bai Dona, Gobarashi is in it. Without Kanzaka Chuji Dome, said you did Chutamjika, Tango Dome, Ding. Kanzaka Dome said you did Rana Sosu, Ngasiji, Dogsiji, Semka Tango Tony, the Yamba and do Namjuri, Totambo Gala, Rana Sosu. Kanzaka Dam, Rana Sosu, Semka Tango Dome Bati, Domeli Metan de Governor, what you Kanzaka Dome de Tana Pagongo, you are Sayadi, and then go to you.
So when we speak about selflessness or the emptiness, we speak about selflessness or the emptiness of the either person or the phenomena, right? So initially that if you try to understand selflessness of the person, as the Acharya chanted Kirti, Kirti's quotation, So when we try to understand, when we say the selflessness of the phenomena is something which is you find upon the phenomena, whereas when we say selflessness of the person, we're talking about something very personal, that one's own mind or one's own self, one's own I, or so forth. So that's that for yogi. So if we try to understand the emptiness of one's own mind, same thing, that selflessness of one's own mind and so forth. And then this is the easier approach, so it has a very special significance.
Oji da dinda yinba yindu da dinda chigi da dini da din chuju da di oka sombar tamja di yongnam rona yuwa dinda nan zhiwa rona zhongna da oji dan doje mengo jamsu chidu ni lapan domzi giden ka jiba chamchak dharma banzir yapsi ji kasur shakja chenpu damba zhiwa sena da sombar tamja oji da chi tangli shuwa nang yango giliwa mara chabchen se chi li chi mara song jangi Tripchen Gun Chokda Jirwa Dharma Banzir Yapsi Go Kasur Di Shakja Chenpu Kasur Di Dani Somga Yiktaglan Druga Yen Senada Sombar Tamja Songjangi.
So in terms of his pledge to compose this text, then he says that, as it says, accordance with the adept Dharma Vajra and the sun, then I shall compose the Mahamudra text. And what I'm saying is that he will write in the transcribe the instructions of the Mahamudra, that accordance with the instructions of the adept Vajra, Dharma Vajra and the sun.
Oji da dinda yinba yendu dan dana dan riba tongni marishu yawna shiwa di da cholo ka nipo da chujo dan sombar tamja niga yendu nipo di tong tok kawa mambi char shabar matri so sena oji da di tsingzir dan riba lakso matri wa yen se mar song shawa yendingi oda di ju da dinda chik dan da dini dan niwa na se di na yigu tsawa gogo sabchi di oji da di yingu yuwa ri yir jebar jana shang tsarwa dan si ji da di dini da tsomba tar chambar chabi chir tsombar tamja chir tomba si ji oda shang tsarwa dan tsombar tamja ni chaba yendu da di tangli yara tsomba lan jiba chaba si ji oji da tila ni xewa yendu di sabji samga nangni da di na niwa tsamba damba ngui xeba da niwa di tuiwa yendu da dani yini ngu tsigang yu ding niwa na se.
So now these two verses, the author writes that since they are not very difficult to comprehend, so I shall not embellish on that. He says I shall stay brief. The verse second, now the main actual content, right, main material. And then after making prostration to the exceptional object of the beings, and then after pledging to compose. Now the second, that's the actual work.
Oji da dina yinba yendu dan de ju chokten tsawa rongna tsikong chik mata yuwa mari ta rongna da dan dana songyang yuwa yendu niwa nan dala yorong yun jiksam li yisina da yorwa chadruka ramba di tangbo dini da niwa ngui je samba jiga chawa di sam sina jiga chokten tsawa jarwa yongnam ka tsikong chikbo di yinba yendu tsikong chikbo di jiga rongna da dala yorong yun jiksam li di samba damba ngui sheba andala sam yurwa dang yu dang jig sam li si o ju da di sab ji sam len ya di sa wa rang ge tsun na yong ngi sun di yu ding.
So it consists of preliminary, main, and a conclusion. So this is the on which the author is Sambhatamba, that the instruction composed to explain that. No, it has three areas. There is the Jowa, the preliminary, or Nguishi, or the actual, and then the conclusion. So these three.
Oji da di samchi na da dini da yang ju da dambu yurwa di ramba di la yang chokchen tsawa jarwa jangna rang go tsik di zhang na oji da dambu ten dang tokchen la nipa go dang yang shen shir kazam tsik zang ma yenpa chamru samchi ne ten sha Samji Chunian Tongwa Yang Tsoso Drubjan La Tui Yujan Bamtam Tongshan Jaja Goma Montoni to some Sanji Tamji Irmi Savala Mala Yuni Sundu Yang Yang Sha Senada or then do artist about the marathon or you that the Sanjo Yuayandu or you that don't boot you Savati John did Titon Drayon Duna don't boot Temba don't Tojana. Sanjigo, Tembalan, you were Gucci, Tojanan, you were Gucci, Niwa, and do what you that in Nishan at the Nation was young.
So when it comes to preliminary, the author deals there with the two verses here. There are two verses here, that meaning to follow. That it says to start, that actually the entryways, how we enter into practice. There's entryway, the entering into the Buddhist practice and entering into the Mahayana practice. So that Mahayana practice, these two entries.
Oji da dina yimba yandu jiga da dina dambu tembala jibu gudi jamro yimba yandu da di riba sanya dina shiva di oji da jagargan kiwa chimbo tosu tembala jibu gudi jamro sanya di oda jagargan kiwa tosu yeba di ngusu koyonga yandu din tsani sanya guiwa sopa chimbo chantawa dini lama silenba jivu chimbo la jigiso oji da jiva damba sam ngusani pawir jing kidra mambu Bavirjin Kidra Mambo, Shananga Jebra, or that Chivada, no Jebra, the Jambu Gunin, Jesanga, and do Shananga Jebra, Jambu, Namdaga Gunin, Jejin, in Jebadi, they don't Tambra Yambo, Conjunga Johnny, Jitan Savanga Marathon, the John, they don't Tambra Jitan Savangi, Jambu Mena, Chubaman, she's on a third, Jambu Jetan, drinking it and the share with the Yesena, or do that, Yamazuji. Idam go to Korea nanda, Chunyamne Jiva Yanada, Ju Soju Yana, Tambu Marji, Nyamne Jiva, Tomadi, Chambruji Jiga, Yuadi, Nengo Tila Tuding.
So whether one is in the Buddhist, into a Buddhist practice or not, since the determinant is whether one is taking refuge or not. So since this is the one which decides that, so thus that author borrows the quotations. Here author quotes the three great Indian pandits like that Lobin Chibo Shantipa, and then the Acharya Swandipa, and also that there are Lord Atisha says, and the many other highly realized beings of the land of Aryas. And that the distinctions, what makes whether one is a Buddhist or not, the distinction is made based on whether one has sought the refuge or not, whether one has taken the refuge or not. Likewise, the similarity is the many highly great scholars of Tibet, like the Sajja Pandita, and as he said that if you do not have the refuge, then you are not a Dharma practitioner and so forth. So thus it says that the one must do the take the refuge very diligently. The well blended with mind stream, or well blended, or the well blended with mind stream. One should do a diligent refuge.
Oji da diraji da dini yonji di jabten la ju dambi jang lonye zhang sum kumchak la to shanlab shiklin jang o tenre wa sena shi song yi shara si oji jagar bhatamba oji da ju besa di bo go garze go da nyanong lomba isarwa oji da dina ji yori tiwi tenre wa la ma labsha song yang du na lonye zhang sum ganga kumchak sum la to go go ri kumchak sum la Teba yana, Kumchak Samla Teba, Shanlab Goi Chiwam, Toli, Gari yana, Liton Gari yana, Yongori, Sena Tenreva, Sena Sonjo Ding.
So that whatever practices one do, that it must proceed with taking a sound refuge. And also that one of the great Indian saints, Patamba Sanje, that he also says that one must submit one's that mind, heart, and the chest to the three refuge. one must submit one's heart, the mind, heart, and the chest. And he says that I think Patama Sanje, he came somewhere from India and the places vicinity of Nyanang and then in Tingri, So this is instructions given to the people of Tingri, where it says that then if you do that, and then all the blessings and whatever task you're trying to accomplish, those who you will accomplish easily.
Oji that in a yambayan, that in a that done that door de Jamro de Tabachimbunji Goyam, but Sertedon. Then you had the Jamro de number Sanji were Tembunji Goyam, but the Travadan. That you Tabachimbu, Tabachijan is you were Tabachimbu, go to Sanji, Sami and Bayan, do that. Then Jenny was on Guivari, Tejan, don't Gombo Chevali, Jati Jambo Chevali, Shonju Jamona, Shanju, some teacher and a critical Korean sooner than being Yantona. The Shogunam Jisi Jujas, you then Lamrichi, Choksa, and Jerochi dance. Or you then Gombo Chevali, Shonju Jamona, somewhat dead on. Tesan the Masi, Joe Chambu Jones, Tauchen, you go and you be Master Doma Shishib. Yet that we Shanju. Karan baby, Jay on she Tabachimbu and you go down, see Tabachimbu and you go and body, Joe Jimbu, Marasan de down. Or you that Jazzy Javali song you go go this on your dingy song.
So the gateway to the Buddhist practice, the Buddhist practice is the seeking of the refuge, whereas that the gateway to entering the Mahayana practice is the bodhicitta. So to substantiate that fact, then the author borrows from the Acharya Shantideva, from the Bodhacharya Avatara. The likewise author quotes from the great Atisha, that how this is the determinant whether one has the Mahayana practice or not.
Oji that in a yambayan, that in that the Dogo Guayan, you are it is under Masi, Moji Guayan Yambadi, Namnang was on Gidi Town, Dear Masi, Namnang was on the somewhere double. Tamji Jamba China, Niji Zavali Jongayan, Shanjuji Samji Jeli Jongayan, Tabji Tarchambayano, she's on a third. The Tojenji Jongshan, Yambi, Cherna, Gori Toji, Tanta, Sosun, Jongkong, Tamba Tamji, Subtree, Jinchi, Tam, Gombo, Mondu, Dansi, or Judas, Trace on Ayana, Chicken Doda, Moji, Chicken on Ayana, Kari, and a Conga, Mondu, Rodi, Chamru, Chigarisena, or Juda, Gombo, Mondu, Chamru, Samchi, Juda, Tambo, Chamru, Jitani, Samchibati, Tabachimbu, Chudi. Pokanjing Jana Terra Chudi Taba Changi Chu Jonasa Mayamba, Taba Jijan Nika, Tinoni Taba Chambodi, So Yamba Yandu, or Juda Chamro Samchi Nigas, songs of Udin.
So likewise that Namnang, that it says that here, Namnang Wencha, I don't know that phrase in Sanskrit, there's sutra where it says, O Vachapani, the wisdom of omniscience is rooted in great compassion, and it is caused by bodhicitta, and it is completed by the method. Completed by methods, and as is stated here, that again that all the accomplishments of the Mahayana practices are accomplished through the bodhicitta and the compassion. So regardless of what practices one is pursuing, that before every or the teachings, whether it's sutra or tantra, you will see that it starts with the taking of the refuge and generation of the bodhicitta. It starts with those.
Oji that in a yambayandu, Oji that Denida, the Jamro Samchi, and the Savakuranga Susana, Tony Jones of Adino, and I want the song you are. Cousin Susan Mayam, but Jamro Samchi, Netan Shah, said Duna, that Jamro Samchi Niga, Asi lamji suwa namsam go nani, oji da chamru jeti nginjang yang gogo yuwa yendu lamso namsam go nani tambo nginjang di chamru kansan du yang go yuwa ri. Oda teni lamso namsam go niwa di samchi taba jimbu samchi yenba yendu ndana chamru samchi neten sha sen songa dira oda nengo chi yuding.
So that's as the author says here that thus not merely in the lips or words, instead exercise fervent refuge and bodhicitta generation. Bodhicitta generation. So when you speak about the three principal aspects of path, that the refuge, taking refuge, and that is almost like the cause for the renunciation, you know. The renunciation that sorry, within the renunciation, the taking of the both taking the refuge comes within the renunciation.
Oji da dina jina, dini da danda go tsaga zhangzhaga nana dana samji chunyan, dana samji chunyi sangjang, chunyi ayamayan, da chunyi na kansa go dangme dang, chuji dangme ni rase na shisa jiwa re de samde rangji ji diwa yandu samji chunyi parchi yango menro samsam ra jiyo. Da samgo tengo chunyan thongwa deyang, 지금 차석 접장라 뜨고 요와 연두 다 이기장 범범장 당상의 지자식의 되는 감망도 당고선에 송아 연두는 제가가 즉선에 잠루 섬지 맨더 둘지 섬발미 남줄 되니 다라미 남줄 남라 최지 단인 전니시 다 최지스드나 잠루 섬지 지트 맨더 지트 오다 둘지 섬버트스나 라미 남줄 되니가 지가 쓰는데 최지디 오다 문주 최지스는 상황고 요와 연두디 깔친 보인딩이 상상요딩.
So seeing the actuality of the mind, you know, that also hinges upon the creation of merit and the cleansing of the veils or the obscurations. So as it states here, it is contingent or is dependent upon. So thus that they speak about the 4 T or the four preliminaries instructions. The instructions on the taking of the refuge, instructions on the generation of bodhicitta, instructions on how to offer the mandalas, and instructions on how to conduct the Vajrasattva based purifications and so forth. So these are extremely important.
어제다 dinra yinba yendu dandana dinra songda na chiji tanyin zeni shakji mantamba me jense oda deni da jita mala rinpoche songde ma zhangyang gui chebar nga la me ji dirshi chak nanjur ji wangshi ojida mala ribi na thakmar sham nyenji shangchib ji sem nginjang lindi chewa matawa gomshang dombar zeba dombar yang ze deyesi ojida shambadang nyenji shangchib ji sem gomba la di jedi shambadang nyenji hongdan rukugu yuwa yendu tenda ojida teni chiwe changi chukurga kamna nginjang yuwari lindi yuwari teni chewa matawa di yugin gona yuwari taso gombar zeba resenida ojida jizamari songdi chikida nga makum je la jingju ni matang korwa nyimigu li jindi chu la neten jichab komjok samla lobgite shab changchub samla jejongli pochak dhruva janlabchi nawa jana jimarata nga song samla nyam nga mi jidang sena ojida jitamala rambo jimar nyamgar dimar long tong taso la nyamne jiwa di ngondru yendingi sangsha yuding.
So also that the other course, the great yogi Milarepa, he says initially that one should train in the loving kindness, compassion, and the bodhicitta, and then the renunciation, and on the law of cause and effect, which means that he says that one must also pay attention to the path and practices similar to the personal middle level of motivation. And also that impermanence and the impermanence and death regards of self and so forth. One must engage in those, and then that he quotes one from Nyamgu, which means from the lines of experiences of Milarepa, that he quotes that and emphasizes those.
Ojuda dinda chigdan yan jizamali yan sangar chigdan da ojuda lindi to so sam gua di sang gua gedam gi linam la jindi ta para masam na nga so dingara mazo bi chajang chaba namala oyo tembis senjang charshiwa da se ti chi lindi la sam gua di yang ji nan dobe yang den donyo la chon de ta gu go re donyo la shenba no ni ma lo na chon ji yo ri se na donyo la chon de ma ti chang shenba no ni ma lo na korba song ra ma dru tamji jamar shiwa lu kunjang nyen bo tyang chara se na ji ji wen den ge kap na Tudin Korba Nyam, Kanjang Korba, Jigram Seji, the Sam Go, and this Senate, or Jida Sangar de Tonga Chidang. Yang Chiva Chambu Kamni, or Jiga Samji Tamji, Marshiva, Tantamato, Gongori Sena, Yang Sangar Tena, Dodu Samjam, Pamala, Shiva Tanta, Mazuna, Taba member, Korba Chun, T-shirt Chimbui, Shanju Samla, Habjan, Tsara, Shisa Sena, or Jida, Namkada Nyamba Samji, Tamchi, Garden Chambori, Masamna, Chujia di Taba member Chula, Korea Siduna, Taba member Chula and Ruago Nyankayuari Esena, or that in Raga, Durdiona, Chiva Chandi, Johnson, Galam Jiramba, Gongala, Luji Majon and Tukumadusi, that is a Malisangar to Zotong.
So the author quotes here the lines from the Chizumila Rapper, where the Miller Rapper has emphasized that one's meditation and sound made deliberation on the cause and effect, karma. And also the Miller Rapper says that if you fail to see the traps or the disadvantages of the doyen, which means the sensual objects, then you will fail to have the repulsion towards the cycle existence. So thus, in order to develop the sense of disenchantment to the cycle existence, that one must develop the repulsion to or see the flaws of the objects, sensual objects, and so forth. I think that's very similar to where it says that the seeing the flaws of the duden, the truth of suffering. If you fail to do that, then you will not understand how we are caught in the kunjung, the sources of suffering, and how we enter into cycle existence because of the sources of sufferings and so forth. And also that Chidamala's instructions on how we must learn to see all sentient beings as a mother, and recalling on their kindness and so forth, which includes all sentient beings which are equal to the space, equal to the magnitude of space itself. That if we fail to do that, then even if we are engaged in a profound holy practice, but our practice may become a practice of a lesser vehicle if we fail to do these things and so forth. What he is saying is that we must train ourselves in the path and practices common to all three types of individuals: personal initial level of motivation, or the middle, or the advanced level.
Oji da dinda chigdan, da dini da yang ji jizan ji jinji ka zo, oda kasho chuo nyingdi ji surun ji tabo rambo ji jang si, oda jizan mala rambo ji mara lomi zo di, oji tabo gambo tawa yinba yendu dewi tabo tarjan yina chinanga dinda sanga di long di chongyong gui warwa. Jizan ji jinji ka zo, kasho chuo nyi si na, oji da kaji ka damba dang, shakchen ka damba nyi chuo nyi ga chigdan riding iga surun jingi di tabo rambo ji ri se na da. Chuo nyingdi ji surun ji tabo rambo ji jang, tabo chuja trapara se, chuja se dina lu chuzan ruwa di chu chi, chu lamda langya di chu lamda ruwa, lamda langya di niwa, lam traba sirba di samba, wadan traba ishi zan charwa di, yo di mara ji shi kadam lo jang, yen yen no se di ji nang adu jao yo ding.
And likewise, that quotes from the works of the Kambopa, the disciples of the Chidamala Rapper, and he is regarded as one who integrated the two rivers, the one who integrated the two rivers of the tradition of the Kagyu and the rivers of the Mahamudra, that one who has combined these two. And and his work on the liberation, ornaments of liberation, Tabu Taiji, and where he says that there are four chushi, the four dharmas. Number one, lo choose that our mind should be directed to the Dharma, and then the Dharma becoming successful, and then there are paths remaining free of the error, or remove the errors, and tuba issues, and tuba as error, or the mistake. And error becoming the transcendental wisdom. So these are the four directional practices according to Gamboba.
어디다 디나임바 연두지 가지고 전에 더부 취재 상야 대응 대인딩 대장도 마지 어디다 설제위 착수랑 신바지 들쓰지 단디하는 상용의 와리 대전도 둘진 넘바 전부 접어 jansen지세는 이게 설제 강망이 나선거 지선 접어 jansen지 디송나 신바지 들도 신들라 신나 추바마스 천디 번서던 도용라 지 현대요나 디 추바 마리스는 디지 천들라 신바디 말자공이 코라라 신나 인정마스는 영인정 냠네 지금 코라라 신디나 딘트기와 마리디 신바디 저고르지 신바니와 더동라 신나 상세마스는 상주 선바세지 랑고 지 랑돈디 마르카르 총아지 전동디 카르침본던 그 요와 연두 랑도 지워라 신나 상주 선바 마리스는디 신바디 저야디 선바 어떤 선바 정나 따와 만나세 지 더도 저건 선바 정아지 있나 지 따와디 마라 칠롱한테 오정한 거 요와 마리스는 어다지 남지라 더서 정무스 땜비 형주라 천달라 신바년부 지다 신바진원에 천달라 신바년부데 단주르마타와 안주 등알산바서 지회 정어당디 신바당부년부디 디인딩 단 고발라 신바년 다디 지회 정의 꿀지 고발라 신바니와디 년부 고발다도 등알지랑제 견데 시월진이 지원된 그 값니 어지다 되니 람라 세다드니 사원람 람 우리 지다 람 나카리나 어지단 지 람나 도구지 지다 람나 도구다 라니 지고 지디 동니르지 다랑랑 지위 녀몽어 드바데리 드바디 시딘 척든 잡바디 난드기와 마리세네다 랑랑 지고 지디 동니르지 년보디 샴니지 상주지 섬군바디 어다 신바 섬년보 다 신바 제바딘 고르자바 동든 잡바 신바디 연든 고르자바 동든지 년보 관자다 지지 당미 공부를 송아연어지다 지금 설지를 신바지 들세지 어디다 가지고 잡라 나타부 취재세지 다디소 강가 냉강도 지금 말 dom자가 인딩이 돈다가 인지 라므르면 락스요아 말이디 소소소 지금 자기가 맨다 당연 문제가 인딩이
So these four chushi or four Dharma instructions according with the Kagyu, and also that the course here according with the Satya. 도지zemba chenpo tapo gense, the chenpo shite, chenpo as clinging, she has four, separation of four types of clinging or grasping. It says that if you grasp at this life, then you are not Dharma practice. If you cling to samsara, and that's not renunciation. If you cling to the first self-interest, and then that is not the bodhicitta, and then if you grasp, simba as grasping, and then that's you are lacking the view, correct view. So as it says here that, and then in the conversely, then what we need to do is that in order to make the avoid clinging to this life, then what we need to do is that pay emphasis on the meditation on the human rebirth with leisures, endowments, impermanence, and death, and so forth. And in order to reverse our clinging to the samsara, then we need to concentrate on the pitfalls or the suffering nature of the cyclic existence. And in order to counter self-interest, selfishness, then we need to pay attention to the loving kindness and compassion. And in order to counter our grasping, then we need to pay attention to the realization of selflessness of the person and selflessness of the phenomena and so forth. And so these are given different terminologies, but when you look at it, that you are seeing the lamrim, they're all the lamrim with the different names.
Jabon kidu damji ji lam te tagla yang ta para ngap yis waji da dinda go goni ngondu kapse che jang da ji jwa nguji ni gina ni ngondu kapse che yawa ri de ngondu da yen ba ri de nguji kapse yang ji ngondu ngonda songa yin se ne yin jog de me ding nguji kapse yang phen ta kare se ne songa yin du ngondu kapse che jang ngondu wo nyam da ma sen ba nguji da song ri de nyam sa long wa ri sha chen jir samji chunye da da ji ga zaba na samji chunye 통화라 사석들장 고시제디 동지양 거와 연두 저 섬지 주년 모섬도 통화 석제 전부 써봐도 드드 정화라 러글리윈 탄zam건도 소정하라 비 세네다 다디 님본도 오죠 다디라 영지 ngak 제지가 님보jen세지 제디랑 정하는데 제발 님보jen이 이기자가 조가지 니시자는 리리디 동서전지 당소 전지 남지르비 프라르나 만지르지 저반창나 지지변 탄zam선의 제벌 범로다는 딘지나 넘버더버 당년지르 시송 시 예지 년전에서 다 녀마리리전도 그 둘지점의 공디가 고니 이자디 니시 자치리나 자리 된다 여러말 디나시 지금 다 동원 별까지 장하시 지금 드바 먹이와도 동화시 지도 mam보진 정한 거 요와와 지금 동화시 지도 무슨 가르치고 balona di ngkono jaga yena sabachi warite chikachi warwa pete no jo dibati mashagna nyamari ri janda mar ji balona bon phirkan ro de modern zum chila tsani phirkati mar ji garso sab thwa mingi ji chaywa yendu phirka chejen se bam dinar yijam bam dawa jana satan yang tabar song ye durji sambo gomdi la samba dan sene data ji ga sawarong na yu ding ye ba yendu ti khon la nyambo jen ga chig de so dang ne song yang yu ding.
So the author says that what we just said, though they're mentioned in the part of the preliminaries, but we must not neglect these throughout our practice, though they come as to us as a preliminary instructions, but during the actual practices as well, that we must not overlook the value of these, and this must be incorporated throughout our practices. And it says, particularly as it says here, that in order to see directly the actuality of the mind or the dharmata of the mind, we need the help of the enormous reserve of the merit creation and purifications of negativities in order to gain the direct, non-conceptual view of the actuality or the dharmata of the mind. So thus that purification, collection of merit and purifications of the negativities during the post sessions, during the breaks, becomes extremely important. So thus here, the author quotes from a text called Nyingbu Gyen, the ornament of essence, I guess. It says that one must engage in the recitation of the 100 syllable mantras. That's Vajrasattva mantras. The reason is that if you fail to not keep negativities or the downfalls, infractions of the vows or the downfalls or the commission of negative deeds and so forth, that they multiply, and their multiplying power is enormous. That's just like if you have borrowed a large sum of money from the banks, and if you don't pay, the interest will keep accruing. Likewise, that there comes a time that becomes beyond our management. So likewise, that So since this is the case, it says you should do the 100,000, so the 100 syllable mantra at 100,000 times and so forth. If you do so, even Tsatung, there's a rooted infraction, root downfall, even those can be purified or cleared. Such is the value of the 100 Vajrasattva mantra recitations.
Oji da dinda yinba yendu da durji zamba gomdi gongya chigdang ti zamdo ma si chui tang shakwa goni jashang tsaya tsu sonyangwa yendu yan yang tang shak jashak dang chiwa so topchen songwa shakdom la ne ten nyembur shawo si ta ti chig ta teni ti yuga na yang chig lami namjir gomba ti ne yin son tsawa rong na yuwa yendu teni yendu chi derak tamchi jin jong ni jeba si chi trapa hombo tamchi jin namdara katan samdenji rangwa tsavi lama dinya tisum sangji tamji dang yermi tam kumchak samdiwa dangnya ta muni ta lama chamni kundi jingora muni wajida muni da ladub jiwa ammasi wajida dinda yendu samla lami namjiru gom gudi nyan kong riwa tiyani survandi pa yangni yangdu jiman chebar cheba na neji tombo di dati neku tombo yendingi sene dati drupsha zang ti jansen na yang chi chiwa dambi namdara taso mara dajini chongyang ku yudingi.
So thus, this is the reason that we have to engage in the Gom, the visualization and the recitation of the Vajrasattva mantra and Vajrasattva visualizations and so forth for these purposes. Then likewise, Lame Nenjo, the Guru Yoga, that the one Guru who source of all three kinds of kindness, well, that it was inseparable from the Buddhas all three times, an embodiment of entire refuge. To such a Guru, then that from the depths of one's heart, making requests and entreaties, and so thus engage in the profound meditation, profound yoga of the Guru Yoga. So profound Guru Yoga, one should engage in the profound Guru Yoga practice.
Oji da dinda yinba yendu da lami namjiru di ji nyamni tamji kumara nengo amji ngondronda wo yinba yendu di drupsha zangni da di ji namdara dang chongni songwa di da di yingu yuwari neji tongbo di jiwo jembo la adisha damgo shi ji kui jembo shuwa na hei ko la naba ta zangbo do di damgo shaba deba shi song shen sin oji da jiwo ji lama jiga re samba nyang chaba jiga gong la peku de du na shari sarang kor na da jiwo jembo di janda jiga gong lama de la damgo jimar nang rang nang se na shiga yu sarwa de shi du na da jirang ka damgo se kandu di damgo se na jiga lama chamni kandu dang deba di ne ten ji gogo re se na da songa yin dun da na deba si oda song yu dingi di ji da dini saben di song jiga yu ari di juni shuwe.
So thus that the author emphasizes that with the quotation from the legends, from the legends of the lives of the past lamas. For instance, they were saying that someone requested Atisha that oh Atisha, I need instructions, I want instructions. Then his response was, I do have a sound hearing, but instruction is instruction. There's a faith. There's faith and respect, So that's what it meant, is that looking upon the Guru as embodiment of the entire refuge. Able to look upon the Guru as embodiment of entire refuge. So with that kind of faith, from that kind of faith or the devotion, and also there's some more quotation from Satya Pandita and so forth, which will follow.
Oji da dina jidang, da dini di jabten na chuji saben go mara song di song jawa di shi song ji chuji oji saben ji jang dina wang kar toba mi kumchok sambo la ma diwar thongni la ma la surwa tamna shanlam ji shi song ji oji da kumchok sam diwa thongni la ma la surwa tamna oji da shanlam ji kari song ay jidang yang di zamdo ma si ji jagar pa tambi jang si no jida la mi charana kondo ni se konlar mu ki perchi tanra sen da te song a te dang o rita dinra ni da yang jitamani song chiga yuar di yuni chugui.
So that there's quote from the great Sajapandita. It says that if you pray from your heart to the gurus and Chilabju, the blessings will flow. That you will be the recipient of the blessings and all the blessings. Likewise, there's a quotation from the Patamba Sangye and Patamba
Oh, Dami Jam di Gensigiwaro. Lami Charana Kondo Nisel Hesi. The Lamala Sura Damna Ji Kondondo Nisel have careers. Konlar Muku Perchi, Tanra say. What that Konlar said the Karsego. Penaji, Combat Jamna, Konyang Nisel have career, Tina Younger, Lama Sura Damna Ji, Combila Channel, Combanda Wodi, Lamala Mukisura Damna, Combat Jungle Tony Mar, Hipsadi have careers in the Tinasang.
So the Patampa Sangye too said that that if Lama leads, which means that if you make entreaties to the Guru, then any place of your desire, you will reach there. That's just like if you keep marching forward, you will reach the place of your desire. So here it says that if you keep your feet moving, you will get where you intend to reach. Likewise, if you make entreaties to Guru, then you will reach the place of your desire.
Oji that dinner chicken, that dinner young Gizamali, Gigasong Gigatong and the Gizamali John, Tomba Joe, Jazana, Rengala, me no one jersey. Then the Tomba Jose did the particular Mendos and Sonati in you. Oji that Gizamala Ramboji, Region to Jitaba Marayon. Karisugo Pony 10 Nina, some night you might have 15 that you are retired and return to Jitaba Gano Aperty and by some Tomba Choseduna or the Cho Visage Zana Rengala me no answer. Let me know I shall Zana and Remi Chowers to Wilson. Let me know I'm in Cherana Lama Chowers on the Mugus around the Guris. They jiba me by Yankicher the Gomashis on each rose. Or that in Dagu Dala Matamba Gongagas song the Sona Yonji. Kumjosam deba dans lama jamni condition thonga di karchimboji sayati tindrago namtar Latina answer dio ding songa.
And also there's quotation from the Chudumela Rapper, where it says, Rinpoche, that you, the teacher, I think here he is addressing the Rechung Tojita, Rechung, in a way it says that when you are in a central area, that occasionally your memory of your guru will surface. When memory comes, that then visualize or envision the guru at the crown, and without forgetting the visualized guru at the center of the one's heart. So what he's saying is that his most important thing is that to be able to look upon the guru as embodiment of the entire refuge. To look upon the Guru as embodiment of the entire refuge, and to always remaining in the cognizance of that.
Oji that dinner you may do that, then you read that, dinner Jin that the new young the zoo cola, Jitavanda, you know, you in the Nepuna to good on that, you may know it's on good day.
So I think we'll stop here tonight, and any questions you have, I'd like to, and if you do not have a question, if you wish to stop here, you can do that as well. And now we have also Tsenla here, and I'd like to defer to our lot, so we'll keep up easy.
If you could review the four dharmas again, I didn't quite understand that.
Okay. Mr. Jitao, Chushi now.
Which is in the right here.
Mari. Oh, long. Tabu. Long. Tabu Chushi Taba. Yeah, just kind of nice. Tabu Chushi Town. The youngest station came to us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, daddy, again, some of you are. Double 2 years on the what the Luchus and Rovasi, you got to go, choose you and I on you, Choamata Masam, and you, Jimmy, you, some of the time, you are and Choamata, the top of Gunji and Guari. Load that Chuniga, my lots of chugging, Tinda and Bay and do, load that Chuniga, teach you then do I can go and do say you did shoot on what the ending, Luchus and Rovasi. Very low on Semdi. You sugar yamlet, you on your dingy. Young some logo loaded on Chuniga on you, Chidam Omandu and Naja Macha, you love of the Gidi you are and do you that Lamron to you are my way.
So the request is the Tapu Chushi, the 4 Dharmas of the Tapu. And those 4, the first one is to interpret Lord Chuzatoa, which means the mind becoming or mind towards Dharma. Literally, what they meant is that to be able to blend the Dharma and the mind, just like the milk and water blending with each other. So let that kind of the saturation, to be able to saturate one's mind with Dharma, because that if you fail to see like the impermanence and so forth, then again we often get distracted, or our mind gets distracted from the Dharma. So thus that to be able to remain always with thought of the Dharma.
They and the Luchus and Rovadi Dambo, that any young Luchus and Runa, Chu Lam the Mandungi young Yuari. When I Chu Jigala, Chu di Tsendi, Ganga, Dingaram Seria, De some Tonga, young Chungoni in Rogi, Mia and do Chu Lam the London Rogan meeting.
And the second is that Chu Lam the Chu as Dharma, Lam as path, Lam the Lama. So the Dharma becoming successful on the path, meaning that again, even if we are trying to do a Dharma practice, but sometimes again, our practice becomes aimed for solving some problems of this life.
You don't nearly children at the island and Rogan meeting. You send the Zamayan by Chichua Chamati, Hadami, Combozam, Jitomna, never and Romagu, and rather some don't nearly children now at the Anju, Lamoni at the Androga meeting. Carriers and Aju, Tabachim, we choose and Rogu, you are and do Namkadan number some Jen Tamji, Krovali Trovada, Sanji, Compontoya, Tinago Sambi Senna, or you that Tava Jeon Ruding, Tamjin Chamber Jeon Ruding, you may and do Chulan Runa Tinachi and Ruguding.
So, whereas if our practice becomes intended to solve some problems of this life, or removing sufferings and so forth, so, or if that becomes intended to achieve the life of human or the deva in the next life, then again that our Dharma practice not become very authentic, or the actual practice as we intended to. So thus that whatever we do, that to do that for the sake of attaining the state of Buddhahood, to benefit the sentient beings who's equal to the magnitude of space itself. If you could do that, then that will serve as cause for achieving the enlightenment, as well as serving the cause. It will serve as cause for the liberation or nirvana as well.
What you that in you are not any Lamlan Travasera Hazardina, or you that you Tavan Tamji Jimbo Common Toba J, teacher the Moon the Samlo di Shaks and Rona Yang, Dr. Travan Zambayana, or you Dangza Sijit Trouble Louis Bayandu, Lam di Dr. Travan Zambadang, Rango Samdi Dr. Travan Zongayana, or you Lamlan Trdi, Wayandu, non Trdi, Sirgu, Wayandu, Dangmeber, Tabayana, Lamlan Trava Sirgu Udini.
And then the lam of truva, so lam as path, truva as error, mistake, error, and removing the error of the path. Meaning that even if you are intent doing the practice for achieving the Buddhahood, but if you are grasping at the self, you're grasping at the intrinsically existent self and so forth, then again that path has become written with the error, right? It's become error written, so that error has to be removed. So that's removing the error of the path.
Oji dadi sambadang dadi jiva chava ishi zan chava sanga duna da lui tengo mara dagdan zanya dang jinzan seji din chava ludi sirgenji teni ludi la sangman rawo zo na ludi oji da tombanya taba ishi ga ngor jiga chava ji jang na di dan rudi wa yendu da jiva di ding.
And chava ishi su chava, chava the error appearing as a transcendental wisdom. So thus that that after removing the grasping, that then if you can
then trouble lu shinjala golun trabadi ji non trdi mar serne da tombanya taba ishi ga rangje jen da mar chargungi.
So after erasing that error-ridden perception, and then able to arise in the transcendental wisdom, or transcendental wisdom, free of that error. Yes, sir.
What is the very best way to serve our Guru, to please our Guru?
The Lamakurti Sheshe, the Ashukariores.
Ori dadi ji lamru da zona mara samsang yang gu yuwa ji da lama la ji garzego ji garzego sangseng mbuya pranda ye ji ga yuwa so di dun choba si ji de lami ka no ji dbya di dun choba tamji ko no ni ti yak shi yen sang yang gu yuwa.
So in Lamrim, it talks about many and primarily three, actually. That, of course, offering the material needs and so forth are well and good, but primarily to Bechoba, offering of the one's practice. Which means that if you practice the Dharma where you are instructed to do so, and that becomes the foremost offering you can make. Yes, sir.
In the title, the Gelug Kagyu tradition,
Yeah.
the Kagyu in that title, does that mean from the Kagyu lineage, like from Milarepa, Martha, like that? Or is it just the Gelug practice lineage?
In the Kagyu, it's how they tend to do it. And the Kagyu show in the Kagyu the Gelug Chashi Sadai Bena and the Kagyu Chashi Bena into 10 hours.
Kaisa choni di segunda yo hamu to se kiwa kaisa choni di and na dinda ji sanga to song yo ari kali.
Kagyu Chetsa can they Kagyu so already.
Ori
It's not to say there. Can they Kagyu Rinpoche Chashi Zawas? Kagyu Rinpoche Chashi is a Kagyu Rinpoche. Kagyu said the Kagyu
ori
in this would teach.
Kajje se varwa.
No.
Kajje se ji tondo de kare se pi
No,
wari
Kagyu to tea always. Kilu Bamba.
Sombo Chimbo Damasana, Sombo Chimbo Mambo Chimaran Dino, Jamson on a younger you are, Petino, Jibakanga, Children, Chatawati, Yamne, Children, Tawaji, you don't know the anything.
So I think in Tibet, like we have the early translation, the Nyingma, and then of course Sajja and Kagyu and so forth, right? We may draw the inference on that line, but the Kagyu, when you look at the phrase Kagyu, the two syllable, Ka as a command or the instruction, Gyu as transmission, that transmitted instruction, right? Then from that point of view, then you look that that all the instructions pass on and then receive, right? So from for instance, Samutaju, that profound lineage of the views, or Nyamle Chilabju, that blessing, the experiential lineage and so forth, So just like the many rivers that are other tributaries that are entering the main river and rivers mixing with each other, and then Cuba as a transmission or the lineage, in a way, talk about more in terms of the whole, how it's complete.
The term is Ganden Kagyu. The Kagyu is like the continuum of the transmission of the Ganden tradition. It's more like that than kind of emphasizing the two different lineages.
Right. Thank you.
Kagyu is a continuum of the transmission. Of the Ganden.
Ganden.
Garden Kajas, Gilly Kajudi, Magi, Tony on a Conga, Yamden, doing Jibachiris, and that is how I am in Lamram Didona, Jean Tonguchu and Division, but then Lover Chebe Jamso, yes, and Jamso Chembu, no, I shall no go to Sombo Chembo, Conga and Duang, you are they and do Lamram said, do not know, Jiba Mandava, Lami Shagji Mandava, don't you, Lami, Kago Jiba Mandava, Congas and Dudi, you see it.
So I think it is more like the how it is that how it's a repository of all these transmissions. Not just like in the Lamrim you see that which is a collection of the thousands of rivers of the sound scriptures, right? Collection lake of 1,000 rivers of sound teachings, like that kind of. So it's more on that line, how it is the collection of all these previous instructions into together as one.
Tani jingazu lamram gun sakjen gun on a yigi jajin shoji go yigi sina mala sakjin sombi jira durjin on that zone kaji kanga go dango de ser dudi wa yindu garden kaji se dina tin on a kaji go jiba dan chiba jiban dan the message meeting kanga thandi wa.
So in a way that when you look at the Gyalchen Chugyu, the extensive lineage in Lamrim and so forth, so you will see the Mila. And so actually what it meant is that that you cannot say that this instruction or lineage is not present here. So how it contains the old lineage in complete form. So more on.
Kaji go de on sadi tagdambo gana Karisego, Jizan Narua, Telua, Sani Jabay, and Jajin Shoji, Lama Jabay, Sena, Jizan Narua, Telua, the Soma, Rambaj, and the Marginity on the Udin. Lama the Zot, the Jitango on the Chinatana, Kuzo.
So when you look at that, the rivers of the Kagyu tradition, what are its source? Its source are the Naropa and Teropa, right? So when you look at the lineage gurus, on the way up on top, you will see the Naropa and Teropa. So all the Yuba, the continuum or the stream of instructions of all these gurus being collected, being present and collected. Yeah. So we'll stop here tonight, and I'll be relying on Tsenshab tomorrow a lot. I might even defer to her.
the good give the one the gun, Zambo Joy.